Well, it's a great pleasure to be back with one of my old mates from ComSec, Sebastian. And Sebastian, you've flown in to speak to us here today, of course.
I have, yes. It's very warm actually down here, so it's very nice.
Yes. Now, Savant, a lot has been happening around Australia and probably internationally, to be honest, with the property market. You know, how's Australia looking rather than just South Australia? How's it all looking in terms of confidence out there?
Well, I think, Tupi, the national picture's certainly improved. The last month and a half, we've seen a credible turnaround in confidence. So earlier this year, there was some jitters around the federal budget. That lasted about 1 or 2 months. Then that high unemployment rate came in at 12-year highs. And consumers for a week or two were a little bit worried. But they've shrugged that all to the back burner now. And if you look at household finances, they believe they're a lot better off than they were last year. We've actually started to see activity levels picking up across the bank in terms of the business sector as well as the retail sector as well. So the last 3 to 4 weeks now, credible lift in activity, and more importantly, it looks likely that retail sales in the lead up to Christmas, with the warmer weather coming through, it's going to be a bit more positive. So it's a very good sign for the second half of this year. Let's
start to hone in on, in particular, Adelaide. Give us a rundown. You're outside the state. You get to see it clearer than we do, probably. You know, we're right in the middle of the action. Tell the mums and dads who own properties and the investors in Adelaide, what's your gut feel? What's your sense?
Yeah, look, I think if you look at the Adelaide property market, it is the trigger for the economy because, yes, you've had some issues around unemployment lifting and concerns around confidence, but we've had that story in the Sydney market and the Victorian market as well to some degree. Where the turnaround comes is that lift in property prices and housing activity. You can't discount how big housing is for a broader recovery. And I think for Adelaide, that is the big key story. And keep in mind, with the falling currency, Adelaide's always been big on, I guess, in terms of the education sector.
Definitely. Absolutely.
And the falling currency, once again, over the next year or so, it's not going to kick in instantly, but you will start to see that international students coming back into Adelaide as well. The cheap currency makes Australia a very attractive place to be.
Now, Savant, out in the market, so on an open inspection, for example, on the weekend, the number of Asian, and I say Chinese, but I'll say that broadly, and foreign money that we're seeing in Adelaide now has stepped up enormously. Now, I know that's been credited for firing up Sydney's market, speaking to the Sydney guys, and Melbourne to a lesser extent. But what are your thoughts about that? There seems to be a lot of money coming in.
There is, and I think, the more you've got the Chinese government cracking down on corruption, looking at avenues for a more sustainable growth story, you do see a lot more money flow because of the stability of Australia's political situation. Now, the key here is, I think, it's a fine line that the government has to toe because you don't want to pull the heat out of the property market too early, but at the same time you've got to make sure that there's property that's affordable for all Australians, particularly first home buyers. You look across the nation and first home buyers are struggling. First home buyer as a percentage of all loans is at a record low. In that Sydney market, it's probably 9% of the loans coming through are first home buyers. But you go across to like Adelaide and WA and you see almost a quarter of the loans coming through are first home buyers. So what you're seeing there, Tupi, is that difference in affordability. It's more affordable in Adelaide. It's more affordable in Perth. So I think what you'll see over the next 12 to 24 months is that younger Australians will start looking at property purchases outside the capital city of Sydney and Melbourne.
Sebastian, you're a legend, mate. Thanks for coming in. I know you've got to shoot off to a function, so really appreciate it. Next time you're in town, you promise to look us up and we'll have another chat.
Certainly. Thanks, Tupi.
Thanks, Savant.